Up until now, the Hyundai i20 has been so ordinary that it's virtually invisible. I mean, very recommendable, spacious, efficient, good value, all of that stuff. But, you know, really about the most magnolia of cars. That might be about to change. The brand has had something of a reinvention recently with cars like the i30N in particular, showing that it can do cars that are about more than just plain old common sense. So this might be the new era for the i20. There's even going to be a 201 brake horsepower hot i20N version. But here we have got the everyday 98 brake horsepower 1 litre turbocharged version. Before we go any further, don't forget to subscribe to the CarGurus UK YouTube channel and turn on notifications so that you don't miss any of our videos. That little 3-cylinder petrol engine is the only one on offer at the moment in the i20, and it gets mild hybrid technology, which makes it really efficient. But this car also starts at £19,000, there or thereabouts, which puts it very much on a par with cars like the Ford Fiesta and Volkswagen Polo. So Hyundai clearly think that this can keep up with the big guns. But before we go any further, let's check out 5 things to know about the Hyundai i20. There are 3 trim levels to choose from, and even the cheapest model that we have here gets auto lights, alloy wheels, heated door mirrors and reversing camera. But go for mid-spec premium if you want the full LED headlights, or top-spec ultimate trim brings additional colours and contrast roof options. The i20 styling is certainly more eye-catching than before, but you'd struggle to call it pretty. The rear 3/4 angle with the light forking into the wing is a particularly divisive mishmash of angles. An 8-inch touchscreen with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto is also standard even on this base spec i20, but the others get a bigger 10-inch screen with built-in sat-nav. The i20's rear seats don't slide or have a through-loading hatch. The Honda Jazz is much better for that kind of clever stuff. But the Hyundai seats do split and fold flat easily. There's only the one engine to choose from, but you can have it with this standard 6-speed manual gearbox, or a 7-speed dual-clutch automatic is available that barely affects the official emissions and economy. The i20 has always been one of the better options if you're after a good amount of space in a small car, and the new one is no different. So you get a 352 litre boot, which is up there with cars like the Fabia, and you get this variable height boot floor as standard, so that is all good. Space back here is really good too, so as with the boot, the i20 is pretty much up there with cars like the Fabia and the Ibiza. You get 2 adults back here really comfortably. You'll even get somebody in the middle. There's not much shoulder room, but plenty of knee room, so it's all good really. There isn't much wrong with the i20's driving position. I would like some lumbar adjustment. You can't even add lumbar adjustment as an option, but otherwise there's plenty of support. The steering wheel adjusts for reach and for rake, which is all good. Visibility is decent, and in general, it's actually a pretty decent cabin. Some of the materials feel quite cheap, but otherwise it's all durable. And what doesn't feel cheap is the touchscreen. It gets all the functions you want and it's straightforward to use. The graphics are really good. It's just one of the best systems in the class, and it is a significant reason why you would go for the i20 over something like the Fiesta, which has got a much fiddlier system. Anyway, that's enough of all of that, so let's go out and have a drive. Start by talking about mild hybrids, because this is a term that you're going to see more and more on a lot of cars these days. The first thing to know is that you don't have to plug in a mild hybrid. You can't plug in a mild hybrid, in fact, and a mild hybrid never runs on electricity alone. So all it is a tiny little battery and a little electric motor. It's actually more of a sort of fancy alternator really, and that just gives the petrol engine a bit of a boost and helps with efficiency. So in that respect, it really helps with economy. The i20 gets an official figure of around about 54 mpg, depending on the trim. In real world stuff, I'm seeing around about 45 mpg with a fair bit of motorway miles thrown in. And I don't think that's too bad. I think you'll see its rivals do similar. And to be honest, mild hybrid tech is something that's good to know the car has it, but you don't ever need to worry about it. You just drive it like a completely normal car. And it is a completely normal car in every way to drive, because the steering's nice and light, but it does feel quite devoid of any feedback. It's a bit remote. There are drive modes. It's rather snazzy that it does change these digital dials with each mode that you choose. But I have to say, what it does to the dynamics of the car is so minimal that you barely really notice. Sport mode and everything gets all kind of red, and there's even a faux carbon fibre effect on the dials, which is a bit laughable, to be honest. You get heavier steering, but this is just never a car you're going to want to drive hard. The little 3-cylinder petrol engine is it's quite nice though. It does have a nice cheerful little burble. It's quite quiet when you're not on the throttle too much. I do like the fact that this is a 6-speed gearbox as standard, so on the motorway you're holding quite low revs and it's quite quiet, and I think that makes this one of the better small cars for motorway journeys. Ride comfort, not bad. Could be a bit better over big potholes and things around town. It's a bit lumpy and a bit unsettled, but calms down a bit at high speed, and it's never something that's going to be a deal breaker. There's just nothing exceptional about it. It's a nice car, but you know, there's nothing really that's going to be terribly memorable about it. So if you're expecting this to be in some way more exciting, with the brand now having a bit of a reinvention after the i30N, if you're hoping for a little bit of that fun factor, I think you might be a bit disappointed. If you're just after a car that is a decent small car and is efficient and refined, then it's not bad at all. The i20 is as worthy as it's ever been, but I also think that you buy it for all the same reasons that you have ever bought a Hyundai i20. It's just not as interesting or as exciting as I think Hyundai might hope. Certainly not in this standard form anyway. So make sure you find a really good deal, because you're going to need to get the money costs down on this if you're going to justify it over cars that handle better like the Ford Fiesta, or cars that just have more want-one factor to them like the Volkswagen Polo. Head to cargurus.co.uk for a whole host of great used cars from top-rated dealers.